The mockery of Earth. The Galactic Council chamber was filled with laughter. High-ranking officials from the most powerful alien empires sat around a massive circular table, their holographic displays showing images of Earth's first space fleet. It was a humiliating sight. Ships that looked like patched-together scrap, old industrial haulers modified for battle, outdated engines, and weak shields. The HFY Grand Commander, Lord Viruk, leaned back in his seat, his mandibles clicking in amusement. This is what humans call a fleet. He laughed, and the sound spread across the room. The Tarkna warlord, a towering reptilian alien with glowing eyes, grunted. I've seen junkyards with better ships. Even the usually peaceful Velari ambassadors, a species known for their diplomacy, shook their heads. Earth should surrender before they embarrass themselves, one of them muttered. The news of Earth's entry into the Galactic War had become a joke. They were too young, too weak, too primitive. The great empires had fought wars for centuries, refining their technology and battle strategies. But humanity? They had barely been in space for a few decades. What chance did they have? The first fleet of Earth. Back on Earth, inside the UN Space Command headquarters, the mood was very different. Admiral Jack Holden stood before a massive screen displaying the final preparations for Earth's first interstellar battle fleet. His officers were silent, their faces grim. The fleet wasn't what they had hoped for. Most of the ships were recycled freighters, old cargo haulers fitted with weapons. Some were military vessels, but they were decades behind alien warships. The shields were weak, the weapons limited, and the engines barely allowed for FTL jumps. But they had no choice. The war had come to them. The HFY Empire, the dominant military force in the galaxy, had demanded Earth's surrender. They had given humanity a simple choice: bow to the Empire or be destroyed. Earth refused. Now they had to prove that was not a mistake. The Galactic response. When the humans finally deployed their fleet, the galaxy watched with amusement. The HFY broadcasted live footage of Earth's warships entering the battlefield for the first time. The alien soldiers laughed, pointing at the rusty hulls and outdated designs. One Selvar officer sneered, "We'll blast them apart before they even reach firing range." The Galactic News Network labeled Earth's attempt as a suicide mission. No one took them seriously. The galaxy had seen war for centuries. They had seen great empires fall, mighty fleets reduced to dust. But never had they seen something as pathetic as Earth's first fleet. It was a joke. It was an insult to warfare itself. And soon, it would be a pile of burning debris. Humanity's last hope. On board the ESS Vanguard, the flagship of Earth's fleet, Captain Marcus Steele watched the incoming Selvar warships on his display. They were sleek, deadly, and outnumbered his fleet 5-1. Their weapons were years ahead of Earth's best technology. Every logical calculation said Earth had already lost. He took a deep breath, glancing at his crew. They weren't experienced soldiers. They were engineers, scientists, former freighter pilots. Some of them had never even fired a weapon in space before. And yet, they were here. Because Earth never surrendered. Because humanity had survived wars, disasters, and impossible odds before. And if the galaxy thought they were a joke, then it was time to prove them wrong. The battle begins. The first Selvar warships opened fire. Energy blasts streaked across space, slamming into the human fleet. Several Earth ships exploded instantly, torn apart by the sheer power of alien weapons. The HFY laughed, celebrating an easy victory. But then, something unexpected happened. The remaining human ships didn't retreat. They didn't surrender. They charged forward. Old freighters swerved past enemy fire, using asteroid fields as cover. Cargo haulers rammed into Selvar cruisers, detonating in suicide attacks that shattered their formations. Human pilots, underdogs with nothing to lose, fought with a ferocity the galaxy had never seen. The laughter stopped. The HFY commanders stared at their screens, shocked. Humans weren't running. They were fighting back. And in that moment, the galaxy saw a glimpse of something terrifying. Humanity wasn't just resisting. They were learning. They were adapting. And if they survived today, tomorrow, they would come back stronger. The battle that humiliated humanity. The silence on the HFY command bridge was brief. Only a moment between laughter and destruction. The human fleet, a collection of old cargo ships and repurposed haulers, had just charged straight into battle. At first, the HFY commanders thought it was suicide. Then they realized something worse. It was desperation. And desperation was dangerous. The fall of Earth's first fleet, humanity's first battle in the Galactic War, lasted less than 20 minutes. The HFY warships, sleek and battle-proven, tore through the human fleet like fire through dry grass. Earth's outdated shields failed within seconds. Cargo haulers, never built for war, exploded in massive fireballs before they could even fire a shot. Freighters-turned warships tried to ram enemy vessels, but the HFY's targeting systems picked them off with ease. From the outside, it was a massacre. From the inside, it was hell. Captain Marcus Steele, still alive aboard the ESS Vanguard, gritted his teeth as another explosion rocked his ship. The alarm screamed, red lights flashing across the bridge. "Shields failing. We won't last another hit," shouted his tactical officer. Steele wiped blood from a gash on his forehead. "We hold the line." The words felt hollow. The battle was already lost. The galaxy watches the defeat. Across the galaxy, billions watched the battle unfold in real time. Alien broadcasters narrated the battle as the foolish humans' last stand. Live commentary filled the networks. They actually thought they could win with those ancient rust buckets. A HFY general sneered on a news panel. "This isn't war. This is a public execution." A Velari diplomat remarked coldly. "Humans don't belong in space. This proves it." A Tarkna warrior declared. The Galactic War Council, the ruling body of the universe, did not even bother meeting to discuss Earth's fate. Why? Because to them, Earth was already dead. The final moments. Back on the ESS Vanguard, Captain Steele's screen flickered as the last surviving human ships were wiped out. The HFY fleet closed in, their weapons locking onto the Vanguard. A voice crackled through the comms. The HFY Supreme Admiral himself. "Earthborn, your resistance is over. Surrender, and we will make it painless." Steele spat blood onto the floor. His hands trembled, but not with fear, with rage. He opened the fleet-wide comm channel. His voice was hoarse but defiant. "They think we're weak." His bridge crew, bruised and bleeding, turned to him. "They think we don't belong here." The last human warships, burning and barely intact, listened. "They think this is the end." His eyes hardened. "But they don't know humans." And with that, the Vanguard's engines roared to full power, not to escape, but to ram straight into the enemy flagship. The moment that changed everything. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the burning wreck of the ESS Vanguard slammed into the HFY command ship. The explosion was massive, a blinding white blast that tore through the HFY fleet. The HFY won the battle. But for the first time in the war, they bled. And in the ruins of that battle, in the wreckage of Earth's first fleet, a new kind of human was born, the kind that would never forget, the kind that would return, the kind that would change the war. The silent rebuild. The battle was over. The war was not. Earth's first fleet had burned, shattered in a storm of fire and wreckage. The HFY Empire had claimed victory, erasing humanity's forces as if they were nothing more than an inconvenience. But they had made one mistake. They left survivors, a galaxy that moved on. In the days after Earth's humiliating defeat, the galactic news channels barely mentioned humanity. Earth's resistance has collapsed. The humans have learned their place. A pathetic attempt at war. Their technology is centuries behind us. Alien commentators discussed which empire would divide Earth's resources. Some thought humanity would beg for peace. Others believed that HFY would soon occupy Earth, turning it into a colony. But no one believed humans would fight again. No one thought Earth would return. The last survivors. In deep space, beyond the reach of alien patrols, a small fleet of survivors drifted in the shadows. They were the few who had escaped the slaughter, their ships too damaged to continue fighting. But instead of returning to Earth as failures, they vanished into the cold silence of space. And there in the void, they began to rebuild. Captain Sarah Connors, one of the last officers of the fallen fleet, stared at the remains of their warships. "We lost because we fought by their rules." Her voice was cold. She turned to the surviving engineers, scientists, and pilots. "That was our mistake." She gestured to the wreckage around them, the broken ships, the failing systems. "Now we learn. Now we adapt." They would not beg. They would not run. They would become something else. The war in the shadows. The HFY believed Earth was finished. They were wrong. On hidden moons and abandoned space stations, human scientists worked day and night, dissecting the alien technology recovered from the battle. They studied enemy weapons. They analyzed their ships. They experimented with shields and armor. And they built something new. Human engineers ripped apart enemy technology and put it back together in ways no alien ever had. Faster, stronger, deadlier. The new fleet wouldn't just be an imitation of alien warships. It would be something entirely different. Something the galaxy had never seen before. The price of survival. In the shadows, Earth paid a terrible price for its second chance. Hundreds of thousands of workers toiled in secret factories without rest. Scientists pushed themselves to the brink of madness, racing to unlock the secrets of alien weaponry. Pilots trained in simulations of battles they had already lost, perfecting every maneuver, every strategy, every weakness of the enemy. They weren't just building ships. They were building revenge. And in the depths of space, hidden from the eyes of the galaxy, a new kind of human was born, one that no longer believed in peace, one that would not be mocked again. The galaxy's mistake. Years passed. The HFY never looked back. They believed humanity was irrelevant, a footnote in history, a minor species that had tried to fight and failed spectacularly. They had won, after all. What was there to fear? But then, one by one, HFY patrols began disappearing. Entire supply convoys vanished without a trace. Black market dealers whispered of strange new ships, faster than anything the empires had ever seen, ships that left no survivors. Rumors spread of an unknown fleet, striking from the darkness. A ghost fleet. And then the first message arrived, broadcasted across the entire HFY empire, spoken in perfect, chilling precision. Earth remembers. The galaxy had mocked humanity once. Now it was humanity's turn to strike. The fleet that shouldn't exist. The HFY empire never saw it coming. For years, they had forgotten about Earth, assuming humanity had learned its lesson after their humiliating defeat. The Galactic War Council had closed the book on humans, treating them as a minor species that had dared to step onto the battlefield and failed. But then, one of their military outposts went silent. No distress call, no debris, no survivors, just empty space where an entire fleet once stood. And then, another one disappeared, and another, until finally, the HFY High Command received a single transmission, short, clear, and chilling. Earth remembers. The ghost fleet reveals itself. On the bridge of the HFY dreadnought cutter, Admiral Zerrectal stared at the battlefield unfolding before him. He did not understand what he was seeing. These were human ships, but not the pathetic, outdated scrap haulers the Galaxy had mocked years ago. No, these ships were sleek, fast, and deadly, moving in ways that defied every known battle strategy. They did not charge blindly. They did not fight by alien rules. They appeared from nowhere, struck like lightning, and vanished before a single counterattack could land. Their weapons were silent killers, projectiles that pierced through Selvar shields like paper. Their ships were shielded with experimental technology, absorbing enemy fire with frightening efficiency. And worst of all, they weren't retreating. They were hunting. Earth's evolution. Humanity had studied the enemy. They had dissected their technology. They had rewritten the rules of war. The Excelvar fought with brute force, overwhelming opponents with superior numbers and firepower. Humanity fought with speed, strategy, and precision. They jammed enemy sensors. They hacked into their communications. They turned the Selvar's own tactics against them. And one by one, the mighty Selvar fleets began to fall. A war unlike any other. The Galactic War Council convened in panic. Impossible, one alien general muttered, watching the battle reports. Humans don't have this kind of technology. But they did. And it was better than theirs. How did they build this fleet? Another asked. We destroyed them. But that was the mistake. They had defeated Earth's first fleet, but in doing so, they had given humanity a reason to evolve. The Galaxy had mocked Earth for its failures. Now, it was Earth's turn to laugh. The turning point. On board the HSS Revenant, the new flagship of the human fleet, Admiral Sarah Connors watched the Selvar forces crumble. She stood at the command deck, her gaze cold, unforgiving. This isn't just a battle, she said, her voice calm. This is a message. The officers around her nodded. They had all been there years ago, when humanity was humiliated in its first battle. They had not forgotten. The Selvar had called them weak. Now, they were erasing the Selvar from the stars. The message to the Galaxy. As the battle came to an end, a final transmission was sent across the entire Galactic War Council's network. A simple, chilling statement. You thought we were finished. You were wrong. We are not the prey. We are the storm. For the first time in history, the Galaxy feared humans. And it would never be the same again. The first counterattack. The Excelvar Empire had ruled the stars for centuries. They had crushed dozens of civilizations, shattered fleets, and burned worlds without hesitation. They had laughed when Earth sent its first fleet, treating it as a joke. But now, there was no laughter. There was only fear. A war that Selvar never expected. The first human counterattack came with no warning. Selvar fleets patrolling their outer colonies vanished overnight. The Empire's supply lines collapsed. Their convoys raided and destroyed before they could even send distress signals. No ships were spotted. No transmissions were intercepted. No survivors were left behind. The Excelvar High Command was paralyzed. How are they doing this? Their warlords demanded. The answer came too late. Earth had learned. Earth had adapted. Earth was no longer playing by their rules. The ambush at Korthos 9. The Selvar, desperate to regain control, sent a massive fleet to the Korthos 9 system, believing it to be the center of human resistance. The moment they arrived, they realized their mistake. It was a trap. Human warships, sleek and deadly, emerged from the shadows, not in front of the Selvar fleet, but behind them. Earth's new fleet didn't fight for honor. They fought to win. The first Selvar dreadnought exploded in a flash of fire, torn apart by a weapon they didn't even understand. Another ship was hit before it could raise its shields. The enemy fleet panicked, and that's when humanity struck hardest. Speed, stealth, precision. The very things the Excelvar had dismissed as weakness had now become Earth's greatest strength. The end of Selvar's supremacy. Admiral Sarah Connors, standing aboard the bridge of the HSS Revenant, watched the battle unfold. The once invincible HFY armada was breaking apart, its warships scattering like insects. Her voice was calm, controlled. Leave no survivors. The HFY warlords, who had once mocked Earth, now begged for mercy. None was given. They had started this war believing humanity would kneel. Instead, they had created a force they could no longer stop. The message that shook the galaxy. After the battle, humanity did not celebrate. They did not send messages demanding peace. They sent one transmission, a message that spread across the entire Galactic War Council's network. We were underestimated once, never again. Across the stars, alien leaders sat in stunned silence. Humanity, the race they had mocked, the race they had dismissed as weak, had just shattered one of the galaxy's most powerful fleets. And they were just getting started. The HFY's last move. Back on the HFY homeworld, the Supreme Overlord watched as reports flooded in. Worlds lost. Fleets destroyed. Their empire crumbling. For the first time in history, the HFY knew true fear. Their only choice now, unleash their final weapon. A fleet so massive, so powerful, that it would either wipe out humanity or be their empire's last mistake. The war was far from over. The real battle had just begun. The horror unleashed. The HFY Supreme Overlord stood in silence, watching the reports flash across his war table. Every battle, every fleet lost, every world burned by human hands. The humans, the species they had mocked as weak, as primitive, had done the unthinkable. They had won, not with superior numbers, not with brute strength, but with something far worse, adaptation. The HFY had fought wars for centuries, but never against an enemy like this. And now, they were out of time. If they didn't stop humanity now, their empire would fall. So they made a choice. A terrible choice. The Doomsday Fleet. Deep within the core worlds of the HFY Empire, hidden from the eyes of the galaxy, lay their final weapon. A fleet unlike any other. Not made of steel or plasma. Not built in shipyards or crafted by engineers. But grown. Living warships, fused with biological horrors. Monstrosities that had never been used in battle, because even the HFY feared them. Ships that didn't need crews. Ships that fed on the enemies they destroyed. Ships that could not be stopped. Until now, they had been locked away, a weapon too dangerous to unleash. But against humanity, there was no other option. The Overlord turned to his generals, his voice a whisper of finality. Release the Abyss Fleet. The darkness descends. Across the galaxy, HFY fleets had fought with discipline, precision, and overwhelming power. But when the Abyss Fleet arrived in human space, it was not war. It was annihilation. These ships didn't fire weapons. They consumed their targets. They didn't leave wreckage. They absorbed it. The first human colony to face them, Outpost Theta-9, never sent a distress call. They were there one moment, and gone the next. Even the most battle-hardened human admirals hesitated, because for the first time in this war, they weren't sure if they were fighting an empire, or something far, far worse. The Battle of the Abyss. Humanity had shattered the HFY war machine. But now, they faced something beyond war. The first clash between Earth's new fleet and the Abyss Fleet was a massacre. Human weapons did nothing. Energy blasts vanished into the Abyss ship's shifting, organic hulls. Railguns punched through, but the wounds closed instantly. For the first time since their resurgence, humanity lost an entire fleet in a single battle. No survivors. No wreckage to recover. Just silence. And then, the message came. Not from the HFY, not from any living being, but from the Abyss itself. One word sent through every human channel. Consume. Earth's last hope. Admiral Sarah Connors, standing aboard the bridge of the HSS Revenant, watched the latest battle unfold. For the first time in years, she felt something close to fear. They had planned for war. They had rebuilt, adapted, evolved. But this was not war. This was extermination. The HFY had unleashed something even they couldn't control. And if humanity didn't stop it, the Abyss fleet wouldn't just destroy Earth. It would devour the entire galaxy. Sarah turned to her crew, her voice cold. "We've come too far to lose now." She stared at the swirling darkness on the view screen, the Abyss swallowing entire fleets. "If they want to consume us," her hands clenched into fists, "then let's show them what happens when humanity refuses to die." The final stand begins, the war that changed everything. The Abyss fleet moved like a living nightmare. It didn't fight like a normal armada. It swallowed. It absorbed. It erased. Every planet it touched became silent, its people consumed. Every fleet that stood against it was devoured, their ships twisted into something unrecognizable. And now it was coming for Earth. The last battle begins. On the bridge of the HSS Revenant, Admiral Sarah Connors stood before a screen filled with red warning lights. The Abyss fleet had entered the Sol system. There was no retreat, no diplomacy, no mercy. Earth's fleet, the strongest fleet ever built by human hands, was outnumbered, outmatched, and standing on the edge of extinction. And yet, not a single ship turned away. Not a single pilot hesitated. Because they all knew the truth. If Earth fell today, the galaxy would fall tomorrow. This wasn't just about survival. This was about proving, once and for all, what humanity was truly capable of. The unthinkable strategy. The Abyss fleet descended on Earth's forces, its ships moving in ways that defied physics. Bullets didn't stop them. Missiles didn't break them. Energy weapons barely scratched them. But humanity had never won wars with brute force. They won through ingenuity, through adaptation, and Earth's greatest minds had one last trick left. Dr. Elias Cade, Earth's top weapons engineer, appeared on Sarah's display. "Admiral," he said, his voice tight, "the prototype is ready." Sarah exhaled. It wasn't a weapon. It was a risk, a technology built from the very thing they feared. Biological energy signatures harvested from captured Abyss wreckage. They had studied the darkness, and now they were going to turn it against itself. She gave the order. Fire the entropy charge. The fall of the Abyss. The first entropy charge detonated at the heart of the Abyss fleet. It didn't explode. It unraveled reality itself. The Abyss, which had always consumed, now found itself being consumed. For the first time, its ships stopped moving. For the first time, its endless, shifting forms began to break apart. And then, Earth's fleet struck. Human ships surged forward, unleashing everything they had. Railguns, plasma cannons, explosive ramming maneuvers. Every last human weapon, every last human strategy was pushed to its limit. The battle raged for hours, the Abyss howling in fury as its own essence was turned against it. And in the final moments, as the last entropy charge detonated, the Abyss fleet collapsed into nothingness. Silence fell across the battlefield. The war was over. A galaxy changed forever. The victory sent shockwaves through the stars. The HFY Empire, shattered and leaderless, sued for peace. The Galactic War Council, which had once laughed at Earth, now feared it. And humanity had become something more. No longer the underdogs. No longer the prey. Earth was now a power, a force that no empire could ever afford to underestimate again. Because the galaxy had learned a final, undeniable truth. Humanity never surrenders. Humanity never stops evolving. And humanity will never be mocked again. The legend of Earth's fleet. Decades later, when historians told the story of the greatest war the galaxy had ever seen, they spoke of a species that defied all odds. They spoke of a planet that refused to die, and they spoke of a fleet that changed everything. The fleet that had started as scrap metal and desperation, and became the most feared and respected force in the universe. The fleet that had once been mocked. Now it was legend. END.